Welcome students. Today we will learn some useful file related modules and functions. It is continued from chapter 4 data file handling for class 12 computer science. The flush function. Earlier this we have already learned about so many functions related to data file handling in Python language. We have learned earlier that how to create a text file, how to write some data in the text file, how to append or add some data in the data file, and also how to read the data file and display the contents of that data file related to text file. This is again related to text file. Okay, the flush function. When something is written onto a file using any of the functions, write functions, when something is written onto a file using any of the write functions, Python holds everything to write in the file in buffer, temporary memory, and saves it on actual file on storage device, permanent storage, a later time. Actually, what happens when we write programs to save some data in storage in permanent file, okay, then during execution of the program, what happens, before completing the program, all the data which we want to save in the file, which we want to write in the file, all the data is stored in temporary memory, that is RAM memory. It is also called buffer. Okay. This buffer holds the memory. It is temporary memory. Okay. So when we close the file, these data will automatically goes to the storage device, that is permanent memory, and data is so saved in the file. Okay, whatever file we have we have created, that data is saved in that file. Okay, so this flush function is very much helpful. Where if we write the program for a software, or so many long programs, so many operations are being done in a particular program, then what we need to save in between the transaction, or in between the working, or in between the operation of the file. We want to save the file, we want to push those data which are held in temporary memory to the permanent memory. For that purpose, this flush function is used. See here, Python holds everything to write in a buffer, okay, temporary memory. Then what happens, it saves, pushes the data on the actual file in the storage, permanent storage. What, a later time, after some time. However, Python automatically flushes or saves the file when closing them using close function. It happens automatically. Okay, when we do the close function, when we execute the close function, it automatically flushes or saves the data in the permanent storage devices. However, in sometimes, if we want to save the file before closing the file to the permanent storage, then this flush function is very much helpful, and it is having very much simple syntax. Just give the file object name and dot operator, then flush function. See the example. This is the example program of flush function. As we know that flush function forces the writing of data on disk is still pending in output buffer. Okay, it forces, okay, that whatever the data is available in the buffer, temporary memory, it write the data on the disk, that is permanent storage. See the program. Okay, this is the program we have created. Okay, it is something larger program. Okay, here out.log file we have created, and there it is created in a W mode, write mode. and we can also read the file because plus symbol is given here. Okay, the output is my work status is it is written in the file, which file, that is out.log file. Then what we are doing, we are using the plus function. What happens, these two lines will be saved in the file permanently. If something happen in between, then these two lines will be available in the file. Then next we are saving OK, then \n, then finally over we have written, and then we have flushed, and plus means the data is permanently saved in the file, and then after we have closed the file. Okay, now see what will be the output of the program. Okay, it is displaying here in output. We are showing the file out.log in notepad. The output is like this. Okay, just like a file, text file, it is creating and data is saving. Standard input, output and error streams. Most programs make output to standard out, input from standard in, and error messages goes to standard error devices. The standard output is to monitor and the standard input is from keyboard. Okay. Actually, in a computer we can add so many devices, input and output devices, but there is some standard input output devices which is available with the data file, or which work with the data file or the file handling programs. What is that? Standard input. It is mentioned that standard input is known as keyboard. Keyboard is known as standard input, and monitor is known as standard output. And in the same way, error stream is there. Monitor is also known as error stream or a standard error device. Okay, sometimes we can change these things. It may happen that we can take input from some different devices, say for example a pad, or some like some devices like light pen, or some other type of devices like camera. We can take input, different types of input, and for output we can save the data in a file also. Okay, file, we are saving the data in the file, that is known as, that file at that time is known as the output. Okay, output file. So a standard is maintained here, that is standard input is known as keyboard, and the standard output device is known as monitor, and also the standard error output is known as is also known as monitor. Okay, sometimes why it is taking output and error stream both are monitor, because if we have changed, suppose output is we are changing output to some file or some other device, then error messages will be displayed on the monitor. Okay, for that purpose it is using. During file handling, it happens that some output goes to file, and if an error message comes, then what happens, the error messages won't be able to go to file. It always displayed on the monitor. Okay, for that purpose these standard input, output and error streams are given. Okay, here is the example. We can see the example program how we can use these streams. Okay, there is a sys module. First we have to import sys module, then only we can use these streams. Okay, how we can use? There is a always we have to use the sys module. Then if we want to use a standard input, then we have to write sys.stand_in.readline. then it will ask you some data to enter through the keyboard. Okay, similarly stdout.write we have given here, sys.stdout.write. it will display the data on the monitor. Standard output is monitor, so write function and read line function we are using the file handling functions. Okay, but these functions will display the take input from keyboard and display the output on the monitor. Similarly, several times we are using the read write functions, and lastly we are using standard error stream, and this stream will be displayed on the monitor itself. Okay, Now come to next topic, that is absolute and relative path. Actually what happened, sometimes we need to save some file in some different drive or some different folder by using our Python program. For that purpose this topic is to be discussed. Okay. The absolute path is the full path name to some place on the computer, and the relative path is the path to some file with request to the current working directory. For example, suppose the absolute path means one file is there, that is a staff.txt, and its location is like this. It is available in the C drive, then users folder, then files folder, then documents folder, and within this folder this file is available. Okay, then the complete this address is known as the absolute path. Okay, absolute path. Now suppose we are working in the current working directory that we are working, we have opened the folder C drive, users and files. Then the relative path for the staff.txt file would be only this much: student documents comma staff.txt, because documents document is a folder and staff is a file, and this is the current working directory. We are working on the current working directory, this working directory. Suppose we are working, then this will be the relative path. Okay, so this why we are learning here, because if we want to create file in some different folder or some different directory, then we have to give this type of relative and absolute path we are using. And one thing we have to note, that current working directory plus relative path, if we add both those things, then we can obtain the absolute path. Okay, example, yeah, you can see here also that document staff.txt, this is the relative path, and the current working directory is :users files. Then when we add both these things, then it will become the absolute path like this. Okay, see here example, checking file existence. During program we can check that if a file is exist or not, shall we create the file or not, or shall we proceed or display or read the file or not. For that purpose we can check in the program also using this. There is a one OS module, we have to import this OS module before doing any of the operating system related functions. Okay, now if we write some script while checking if a file is exist, we can like this: import os.chdr. Chdr is a function which change the directory, change to the current working directory. Okay, then this is the, we have given double backslash because by giving double backslash it will do the appropriate work, otherwise it will give you error or it won't do any work. Okay, double backslash we have to give, and this double backslash will be counted as one backslash only. Okay, yeah, so this we have changed the directory, means we are making this folder as the current working directory. Then now we are checking that os.path.exist, this staff.txt file is exist in this current working directory or not. Okay, then what happens, this will display true if a staff.txt file exists, it will display true or false like this. If a staff.txt file is available, then it will display true, otherwise it will display false. Now instead writing all these things in 3 lines, we can do in 1 line also like this. Now instead we can write here print os.path.exist, then :users pairs documents and staff.txt using the absolute path. We are using here absolute path, and here we are using relative path. Okay, this will also return true if the file will exist. Okay, one important variable is there in the Python language, that is the global variable, and double underscore file and then double underscore. Okay, if you don't know where the user executing the script from, it is best to compute the absolute path on the user system using OS module and the variable file. Okay, this variable gives us absolute path. What it can gives us absolute path for the current working directory, the directory we are, or the folder where we are working during program execution. Then this variable will be having the absolute path for that current working directory. Okay, then this, using this variable, we can know that where we are working. Okay, what is this? It is a global variable set on every Python script that returns the relative path to the .star.py file that contains it. Where the file is going to save, this variable will contain the working directory of that files. Okay, for example, here import OS. For to use this global variable, we have to import the OS module, and then we can use os dot double underscore file, then double underscore, like this. It will display the current working directory. Okay, now the this text file job topic for the data file handling is finished. Okay, now we are going to give you some assignments. These are the assignments and you have to do these assignments. Okay, uh, thank you, all the best.